You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Hello, this is Force 13 Live. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, and we're bringing to you a 2-hour live event this evening on Hurricane Matthew. There it is, along the North Carolina coast. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by the Skype team as ever. After our live event that we did for 4 days, we have recuperated, and we're here to bring you the latest. Right now, I am joined by David, Craig, Hank, and Isaac. Good evening.
Good evening, Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
And whilst we're live, if you've got any comments or questions for us, send them in. Start your message with Force 13, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13. Hank, you've got some news?
Yes. Ever since we last ended last night's live stream, a lot has happened in the past, I'd say 18 hours since we left. Maybe a little bit more than that, but whatever. The storm did make a landfall in South Carolina near the, I believe it was the, what area was it? I think it was near McLennanville, and now it's inland in North Carolina and dropping. And that's another big deal with this storm, the rainfall, especially in South Carolina and Georgia. Some areas have gotten up to 18 inches, some reports have been saying. So not very good, especially in South Carolina, where just basically almost a year ago today, they were being hit by some of the worst flooding ever seen in the almost in the country, by the fire hose coming in from Joaquin and all that synoptic complicated stuff. Anyways, so yeah, the storm has made landfall. It is barely hanging on to hurricane strength right now. I would not be surprised to see this thing be downgraded to a tropical storm within the next couple advisories, or next advisory. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing get downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone in the next couple advisories, because if you look at the HC cone, it says that to me, it looks like it's going under just in post-tropical transition.
I just had to wonder about that loop that they were predicting for a long time, and it's looking much less likely to occur now.
Yeah, well, it's still probably going to occur, but the system is probably going to become post-tropical long before it could get to the Bahamas. So that is some good news.
But it could regenerate, though.
It could easily regenerate. Some of the malls are saying that. We will look at those in a couple minutes, right, or later on.
Just want to give everyone the latest. It's a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, which is barely Category 1. 977 millibars, 15 miles west-southwest of Cape Fear, 105 miles west-southwest of Cape Lookout. The hurricane warning from South Sante River southward has been discontinued just now. The hurricane warning remains in effect for north of south of Sante River, apparently, to Surf City. A hurricane watch is in effect for north of Surf City to Cape Lookout. A tropical storm warning is in effect for north of Surf City to Duck and the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. And also a lot of flash flood warnings as well.
So the system should become post-tropical sometime tomorrow. And with Matthew making landfall in the United States, this is the first year since 2008 where we have had 2 hurricane landfalls in the United States.
Wow.
Yes, 2012 we had Sandy and Isaac, but Sandy was post-tropical at landfall. So I don't necessarily count it, even though it was the second worst hurricane in the history of the United States.
And you want to count it.
But, yeah. So yes, first since 2008, since we had Gustav and Ike, and maybe another storm that I'm not remembering the name of. Faye was not a hurricane, though it looked like a hurricane. Dolly. Dolly was also one. How did I not remember Dolly?
Yeah. The flash flood warnings are very expansive, and I'm sure David's been monitoring it the whole time. You got any latest news from damages or anything to that effect? Or anyone else?
Not at this point in time. As soon as I cite the information, I'll I'll bring it to you.
Hmm.
But you were looking at a lot of things on Twitter and whatnot before, David, about Jacksonville Pier and a lot of other things.
Yeah, major damage to that pier. But what I'm going to say at this point in time, with Matthew and the massive amount of flooding, and we'll bring the various flood reports. Don't drive on any of the main highways or suburban roads, because I'm just looking at one video clip, and they should not be going through the water on the I-95 as an example. This is in the Johnson County. Cars and trucks driving through water.
Yeah.
And this person saying, be smart, people, don't do it.
Yeah. We have a question from Bob Hope saying, don't mean to sound morbid or anything, but what's the death toll for the U.S.? I believe it's 15 now. It might have gone up. It probably has gone up.
I think it is 15. I did cite one of 6, but 8. I did cite 8, so I would then support to Hank.
Okay, so I think I saw one saying 15. So yeah, the death toll is 15 in the United States. The death toll in Haiti is 877. That could rise to 900 or even 1,000 over the next couple of days, because they haven't even examined the Tiburon Peninsula yet, where Matthew made landfall. So it could rise significantly. The damage total is 1 billion or higher in Haiti, and up to 6 billion in the United States. So, yeah, if you're talking about retirement, this storm is pretty much guaranteed retirement. What are the questions? Is it a Cat 1? Yes, but just barely. Carlos Flores asks, can you show webcams in North Carolina?
Not at this moment in time. But,
okay.
We'll see. But I was looking at them earlier today, and it was extremely blustery. The tide was in at Myrtle Beach, the places that we were looking at last night. The tide was really in there, and it was almost inundating the area, but the actual boardwalk feature that you saw was not engulfed in water, so it hadn't got that high. The winds were really coming in. There was no apparent damage along that structure. I didn't see any loose objects along the ground blowing away or anything like that, but I guess along those coasts, in those areas, it's going to be the flooding. And David and other people showed me flooding from those areas, particularly in Charleston, which was under about half a foot or more. And I can't remember where else you were showing us, David, with the flooding.
Okay, I'll just bring up on the screen share. This is the radar, the total storm precipitation from the Wilmington NC radar.
So that's accumulations there.
Yeah, and look at these are the flash flood warnings, and I will...
The green areas, green boxes.
Yeah, I will look at the detail. Now, you can see the
so it
yellow
looks like there's
a
very small area just north of Myrtle Beach there that's 20 inches in total.
Yes. So Myrtle Beach.
And then areas near Wilmington starting to get towards the 8-inch area, maybe 10. Huge amounts of rainfall coupled with that surge.
Storm surge has been a major issue too, and
that was abrupt.
Sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, okay.
Just waiting for it to change.
Oh, what are we going to now?
The Rady Durham.
Durham. Oh, more there as well. So
Oh,
that's from
yes,
another
look at it.
radar site, and yeah, that's
Yep.
10 inches plus,
Because-
getting on for 12.
Rayleigh. You can see
Those
the
colours are
area
slightly
in pink,
misleading
purple.
because on the other radar the sort of purple colour was for 20, but on this one it's for 12, so they're not the same. But you can see there the worst, in relative terms, the worst areas are in the dead centre of the image, southeast of Raleigh or Rayleigh, I don't know how it's said, but I was
Rayleigh.
told Raleigh yesterday, but who knows. And the rain expanding to the northeast. Isaac, are you here? I heard him earlier.
He has left the call.
Oh.
So I guess Craig really didn't say anything, so I guess it's just you, me, and David.
If Craig does want to speak, you're more than welcome to. So that's the latest on Matthew, and its projected path is for it to turn post-tropical very soon.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up the latest satellite imagery really quickly.
Yep.
If you don't mind if I steal your screen share, David.
Yeah, go on.
Alright. Here it is, and not looking so hot. It's mostly due to wind shear and dry air. I pull up the dry air graphic right here. You can see all this dry air located over the southeast, and how it's just basically dominating areas that Matthew hasn't influenced. That explains why this storm has been mostly off to the right-hand side as it's moving up the coast. Areas
I'm back again.
areas that got
Don't know
battered.
what happened.
Areas that got battered.
So what have we got on the screen? It's
What happened
water
there, David?
vapor.
Were you
isn't it?
away? Okay, there's the
I
storm.
left the studio. I was running out of
And
audio. So
oh, that dry air is really there, Hank, isn't it?
Yeah. Areas in South Carolina that got 16 inches of rain or 15 inches of rain this morning are now dry as a desert, it feels like, outside. Surprised the humidity there isn't higher.
Wow.
But that's one issue for the storm.
I just want to point out something else there. Oh, you should have gone back there just briefly, Hank. Because look at that. Look at Nicole. And there's a band associated with Nicole that's just about to hit Haiti.
Yeah, that's the last thing Haiti needs, especially that.
That's the last thing they need. Speaking of Nicole, it's being sheared very heavily by this upper level low you can see right here. Pushing both dry air and wind shear over the system. So it's not doing too great. That's, 50 plus knots of shear over the system?
That's just
and inland over the southeastern United States, a lot of wind shear as well over Matthew, at least 35 at least. It is dropped where the system is heading, which could be one thing going this way. The upper level high over Matthew is dissipating because the system is weakening quickly, quicker than expected. I will say. I thought it would be a Category 2 as it moved off the offshore South Carolina or made a landfall. But it was only a minimal Cat 1. It's been a minimal Cat 1.
That's what was expected. Do you think they overestimated the storm's capability of staying strong?
Probably, because this storm has kind of been defying the models ever since it was named.
Okay, let's just take some comments because Stephen, I asked the question last night and we didn't know at the time whether this was the first hurricane to make landfall in the US, first M-named hurricane, and he says it is.
Yes, it is. Confirmed that it actually is the first M-name to make landfall in the US as a hurricane.
Did any do it as a tropical storm? I can't think of any right now. I can't think of anything at all beginning with M.
Matthew of 2004.
Ah, okay.
there's been
Timor says, is there any chance that after Hurricane Matthew turns post-tropical that it can re-strengthen and become a hurricane again if it loops around? Maybe now's a good time to look at some models.
Possibly. Yes, I was actually looking at some of the models with some people on the stream, or on the call, right before the stream began. So there are some interesting solutions to be found. Here's the GFS. Here's Matthew, obviously, and here's Nicole. Matthew, loses a lot of its energy. Some due to Nicole. It gets very close to Nicole, almost gets absorbed. Most of its energy taken away. The circulation remains, and it remains weak as it moves slowly off to the east and gets picked up by a trough. Now, you notice in these last few frames how another storm develops, but then again, this is over a week away, so take this with a massive grain of salt. It moves just west of the Cayman Islands into western Cuba, across southern Florida. It's not a hurricane. This is 850 millibar winds. I think this would probably be a better explanation to how strong the storm actually is. As a tropical storm over southern Florida, and then at last frame, that's nothing. That's probably very unlikely to happen. It's a strong tropical storm off the Outer Banks in about, 17 days. So take that with a huge grain of salt. ECMWF, okay. I'm going to make it a little bit easier to understand here. So Matthew, Nicole, quite obvious which storm is which. Matthew loses all of his energy and gets absorbed into Nicole. And the interesting thing with Nicole, it makes a landfall in Bermuda, it looks like. So that would be their first landfall since Gonzalo. CMC shows Matthew also losing quite a bit of energy from both Nicole and the cold front, which should and Matthew looks like maybe a little bit of Fujiwara effect happening between what's left of Matthew and what's left of Nicole. Nicole steals some energy and then shoots off towards the northeast, and Matthew is no more after that. Interesting little system down there, but CMC, so don't think that's going to happen. Navjam had the most interesting solution, I'm pretty sure. It moves Matthew, it takes the storms much further west, so that the interaction between the two storms can't really happen. Nicole loses some energy, but then gains back. But watch what happens. It becomes a tropical storm. Not tropical storm. It becomes a tropical storm over the western tip of Cuba, possibly feeding off of some of the high oceanic heat content in the western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. So that's the Navjam solution. HWRF it doesn't go nearly as far out enough to see what the system could do as it gets towards the Bahamas, or past the Bahamas, excuse me, or if it gets to the Bahamas. But it says that the system won't do any of the things that they're saying, and just get absorbed into Nicole. That's Nicole right there. You can tell because Bermuda, and just kind of moves off to the northeast as a hurricane or post-tropical system or whatever it is by that point. Lastly, GFDL shows Matthew, just moving harmlessly out to sea as a weakening circulation, and that's about it.
Yeah, nothing left of it. Lee J says, any predictions on when Hurricane Matthew might blow itself out? Well, it's sort of in the process of doing that.
Yeah, right now it's clearly in the process of that. Shear is a massive problem.
And
Dryer.
do I spy the center starting to become exposed?
Yes, actually. I think that is the center becoming exposed. I can look at radar real quick. Refresh the radar first off.
While you do that, Hank, I've got some news when you're ready.
Go ahead and say it. I can wait.
Okay, it's been reported that over 369,000 customers are currently without power in North Carolina. WPEC, CBS 12, water rescues from flooding, possible tornadoes in southern South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So water rescues underway. 369,000 without electricity.
Yeah.
So back to you, Hank.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me all too much that there's water rescues and power outages.
And also, there are still tornado watches in the area too.
I think, yes, there's out for the Outer Banks mostly. No tornado warnings in effect. But if there are tornado warnings in effect, then we'll bring that to you as soon as possible. But let's see. That's the wrong imagery. There it is. How far does this go out? So it goes out to about half an hour ago. So I think that is a center circulation being exposed.
Yeah, it looks like
let me see if I can
it's
pull up.
really close.
Yeah,
And that's sort of a sign of the beginning of the end here.
Let me pull up. Actually, that's the wrong one. My bad.
Still a hurricane now.
Still a hurricane, but we just have to wait. That's the wrong one as well. Which one is it? I think it's this one. It's yeah, it's the RGB. And yeah, that looks like it's the center. Yeah, that's the center. It's being exposed right now, which further proves that it's going under a tropical transition. Also, if you notice how dry it is on the western side of the system, that's what I was showing you right here with all these browns. Very dry.
Incredibly.
In the southeastern United States, where Matthew is not affecting. That's the situation there. Any other questions?
Can we see the latest forecast on Nicole, by the way? I'm just a little intrigued what the NHC are currently thinking of Nicole.
They're saying the system will, okay, there we go. Saying the system will continue moving south, but then begin to move north again by tomorrow afternoon, and then move. Yeah, then moving close to or over Bermuda Wednesday night or Wednesday evening, as a tropical storm. I think. Let me check the forecast.
That is interesting. A threat to Bermuda there.
Yeah.
But not very strong.
For Matthew.
That's Matthew.
For Nicole. Yeah, at least a 65.
Significant tropical storm.
Yeah. Let's see.
There's a beautiful look at the comments section and the hall of mirrors that would appear if I kept it on that screen. And the storm moving off towards the northwest, hugging the coast. Looked like a landfall. The National Hurricane Center thought so. It was really close to call, but I reckon it would have made landfall somewhere along that coast.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, it definitely made landfall in South Carolina.
I don't know. I think it made landfall in North Carolina.
Well, it made landfall somewhere, and that's really, the most important, I guess, that it actually did make a landfall. But I think it could have been in one or the other, or both. So it looks like the system actually did make a landfall and shouldn't stay offshore. So
David,
what's its movement?
Movement is currently east-northeast at 13 miles an hour.
So he's
Really?
actually picked up speed.
East-northeast. Thought it would still be northeasterly.
Yeah.
It's only picked up a little bit of speed.
Yeah. Probably not too much.
I guess you've sort of got a little bit of a illusion caused by the wind shear, which is sort of pushing those cloud tops away quicker than the storm is actually traveling.
The thing you want to look for, David, is the actual center. So yes, the CDO.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Matthews center, but while
but certainly,
thinking
David,
of that,
its convection is moving away faster than the storm itself.
yes,
Yeah.
I just want to introduce Chris. Chris, he's down there on the Grand Cayman. Chris, your thoughts on Matthew, and not sure how the audio quality will be, but Chris is just a few minutes from Adams HQ. And Chris, I haven't had any communication with Alan for over 24 hours, and I was just wondering if he could tell us what's happening with Matthew from the Grand Cayman region.
Okay, well, as you most likely know, it did go through Bahamas, and it did go through Haiti, as we all know. But there was some planes that did come from Bahamas, and they did take back hurricane relief to Haiti through the Bahamas. So the last of all of them left on Friday. I helped load some of the aircraft up myself.
And what's the current operational side things down your location? And I know I should mention that Chris is in the aviation industry. So, what's the latest from what you're hearing?
Right now, I think, as we all know, that Joint Task Force Bravo that was out of Honduras was brought over to Grand Cayman. Then they flew on to Jamaica to, that most likely would be their FOB. Our airport here was the FOB until they got the call from Jamaica saying that they were all clear. And then they flew from here to Jamaica, and then from Jamaica onward. And they did have, I don't know if anyone can verify this, they did have USS George Washington, a Nimitz carrier, and a hospital ship. I do not know if they are still with them. They're offshore of Haiti now. But we did have quite a bit of helicopters here at one time.
And Chris, are you hearing what the latest death toll is for the Haiti region?
I'm hearing.
I think we might have audio. Just try again, Chris. If not, we'll.
I hear it's close to 1,000 now, so I'm not, and that's because of all the unknown places down in Haiti, because there are some places over in Haiti that are not even on the map for Haiti, where all the water and the mudslides most likely did happen, and they did not have no notification, or they were warned but they couldn't get out. So I'm hearing the death toll is close to 1,000.
Okay, well, there's Hurricane Matthew on the screen, and it's continuing off towards the northeast, grazing the land, and huge parts, way more than half of the whole state of North Carolina is under a flash flood warning right now, and actually I don't know whether some warnings have just been extended in the last few minutes. Don't know if someone can verify that. What I can certainly tell you is that some storm warnings have been extended for coastal waters offshore Virginia on the southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula, and I think it just about reaches Delaware as well. So the storm's certainly going to deliver some strong winds to those areas, but maybe not as a tropical entity.
And what Chris said about the death toll in Haiti does not surprise me in the slightest. As I mentioned earlier, they still have not surveyed the what is it called? The Tiburon Peninsula. They have where Matthew actually made its landfall. So it could rise to 1,000 or possibly exceptionally higher. Steven says it has now been the hurricane for 9 days, longest lived hurricane since Cassia. Yes, I can confirm that. And it is the longest-lived major. It's the fifth longest-lived major hurricane on record, tied with Fabian of 2003 for 7.25 days. So 7 days and 6 hours they dropped as a major hurricane. And I'm not entirely sure how long it spans a Cat 4, but I know it was a ridiculously long time as a Cat 4. So yeah, it's been a remarkable storm to say the least, and with this, and with it being a hurricane for as long as or a major hurricane for as long as it has been, it's affected the season's ace, to the point that we are now above the climatological average of 104 units or points from in between 1950 and 2015. We are now at 105. 40% of that, or maybe even a little bit more than that, is due to Matthew, and 75% of that is due to both Matthew and Gaston, which kind of further proves that how pathetic most of the storms this year have been.
Okay.
Apparently, some Ram Troll is reporting from the fans room that his HQ has just gotten 11 inches of rain. I'm pretty sure he lives in North Carolina. I'm not entirely sure where in North Carolina, but it would not surprise me to hear that information. So, yeah, this storm has broken quite a lot of records. Well, not records necessarily, but done quite a lot that we didn't expect it to do. As I said, it did not make a landfall as a major hurricane, so the major hurricane drought continues.
Yeah, even longer. My goodness.
Who knows how long? It would probably maybe longer than the 1830s drought. Ended, I think it went from 81
Well, if it's
31 to 80 to 31 to 42.
If it's another year, it will be the longest drought since the 1780s. So crazy.
Yeah.
If it waits another year, but there we go.
Yeah, we could easily see it next year. But again, too hard to tell. We could even see it later this year, but I highly doubt that. But yeah, but I highly doubt it. Because since
doubtful.
we're getting
When is the last storm that made landfall in late October? I guess Wilma.
technically, well, you could say Sandy, but that was post-tropical.
Was a major hurricane ever made landfall in the U.S. in November?
There's
a question.
Kate didn't.
There's a question for Stephen and any researchers.
I believe. Oh. I don't know.
No, not me.
I don't think that happened.
I'm gonna oblige and do that research right now, live. In the meantime, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just kind of agreeing to what you said. I'm gonna check that out real quick.
Well, does David or Craig, if he's able to talk to us, have any late news or opinion on the storm?
Well, to be honest, I really think that Matthew is near enough done with his extratropical transition in my mind anyway. I know a lot of people would be saying, no, he's not, he's nowhere near it yet, but yes, I'd say he is, because radar depicts that there is completely no eye wall, showing that he's not tropical at all. Obviously, once you've ripped it apart. And radar depicted that I don't think he even had an eye wall before landfall, so I don't even think he was well, if Recon said there was a hurricane, I don't know if there was one in him at that point in time. But death toll, as far as I know, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes well above 1,000, and damage totals go way above 1 million, maybe even 5 million. You could be looking at $1 billion worth
I've
of
got
damage.
those stats, by the way. The US has never had a major hurricane landfall in November. Not even Puerto Rico. The closest point to Puerto Rico was Lenny.
Wrong way, Lenny!
However, 2 made landfall as a major hurricane in Cuba, or 3 if you count Paloma.
So let's see. You had the 1932 hurricane.
Yes.
What was the other one? Crap, I forgot.
And the other one
already.
was... We'll leave it to the commenters see if they can get it.
Yeah. Strongest landfall I could find in November in the United States was Kate, as I said.
Yeah. So there we are.
And that's it.
So there's some trivia for everyone. David, go ahead.
The National Weather Service Rayleigh at 3:51 p.m. EDT. They put out a very strong worded posting. I'll read it out. Life-threatening weather conditions worsen across Lake Johnson, rain communities, including the city of Rayleigh, with 6 to 8 inches of rain, producing widespread flash flooding along the Crabtree Creek and crashing trees. Storm spotters across the area have reported 5 to 8 inches of rain since midnight, with more than 5 inches of rain falling at the Rayleigh Durham International Airport. Rainfall rates have been exceeding 1 to 2 inches per hour. It remains possible for an additional 2 to 5 inches to fall in these areas through tonight. Runoff of this heavy rain will lead to life-threatening flash flooding, potential road washouts, and possible dam failures. In addition, wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour will continue to result in falling and crashing trees across the area. The Crabtree Creek in Rayleigh is now in major flood at Old Wake Forest Road. Moderate flooding at Glenwood Avenue, Anderson Drive. Major to near all-time record river flooding is now expected along the Neuse, N-E-U-S-E River at Clayton, Smithfield and Goldsboro. And they've highlighted these conditions pose a risk to the health and safety of the population in these areas. And I will stress this, if you are at home, stay at home, do not venture out. If you are on the road, do not drive across flooded roads. It only takes a few centimetres to end up in trouble. And if you are able, find a place of safety outside of flood zones. And they're saying, Nathan, be especially careful tonight when it will be extremely difficult to travel and see flood hazards, road washouts. A flash flood emergency is in fact 3 to 7 p.m. This is a serious situation and one that should be and should not be taken lightly.
I completely agree with everything that David said. It doesn't take much. Doesn't take a lot of rain to sweep your car off the street. The saying "turn around, don't drown" applies greatly in the Carolinas right now. Let's see. Are there any comments? Okay.
Yeah, well, most people people have less questions for us than they used to because the storm is almost foretold conclusion. It's almost at its conclusion, but it's still there and still delivering potentially hurricane force winds across that coastline. That's why there's a hurricane warning still in effect, though they may be downgraded very soon, and tropical storm warnings for the whole area. And wind gusts are near hurricane strength in a few places. I don't know what the latest is from the National Hurricane Center in terms of what they've been measuring, but they'll probably tell us if they do another position update in 20 minutes. I'm not sure whether they will if it's not a hurricane anymore, though, at that point.
We have a question from the Colombian, or not really a question, just asking us to do something. Check the Eastern Pacific and take a look at the percentages. That will do right now. The first disturbance has a 20% chance of formation in 48 hours. A 5-day chance of 70%. So that's why the next name on the list for the Eastern Pacific is Seymour. The other disturbance area has a near 0% chance of formation in 48 hours, but 60% in 5 days. The name after Seymour is Tina. So we could see the next two names from the Eastern Pacific, and what's been an anomalously active season. No one saw this busy up a
Looks
season.
like we're in another active phase like we saw in the early 90s.
Yeah. Most likely, but still, no one really saw 2016 being this active in the Eastern Pacific because the quote-unquote La Nina was supposed to inhibit development, but that didn't really come to fruition at all.
But you know,
So-
Hank, don't you think this year in the Atlantic has sort of been, you know, that across the world, it's sort of been a little bit like 1992, almost a reverse 1992 in the Atlantic with this storm, which what could have been Andrew, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Every storm, well, 1992 for one was much less active than this season. The only
But you take
real-
out Gaston and Ace is at an all-time low. Take out Matthew and Gaston and Ace would be at an all-time low.
yeah, that's a good point. Really, in 1992, the only big storm was Andrew, obviously, and this would be, and Matthew is the worst storm we've seen in the Atlantic this year, without question. Blowing Earl and Hermine out of the water completely.
Oh, yeah.
But around the world, yeah, I guess the Eastern Pacific it could be compared to 1992, although 1992 was the most active ever seen in the Eastern Pacific.
Yeah, that was last year. But
How-
you could
I
compare it
don't
to
know-
93.
Well, 93,
Yeah.
it was even worse in the Atlantic. 92, you had 31 storms, I believe, in the Western Pacific. One of them was Gay, which could be arguably one of the strongest storms ever seen on this planet that we've seen. So that's something. 1992 in the Northern Indian Ocean, I don't know about because I just don't bother with that basin because nothing really happens
Can't
there.
remember, but the year before they had something awful.
We had the forest that moved towards Bangladesh but didn't do much. I remember that.
All right, yes.
Southern Hemisphere, I don't know. Man, I probably will never know because I never know anything about that basin.
The Southern
So,
Hemisphere in 1992 was very interesting. At one point early on in that year, there were 4 Category 4 storms across the Southern Hemisphere active
Oh,
within
yeah.
a day of each other.
Yeah, you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago.
Remarkable stat,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, just kind of like the Eastern Pacific last year had, or the Central Pacific even. I think was Jimena in the Central or Eastern Pacific when that happened, when all 3 storms became Cat 4s.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry, what did you say? I was just reading something else.
When last year in this in the Eastern Pacific, when Kilo, Ignacio, and Jimena all became 4s at the same time.
Yeah.
Was Jimena in the Eastern Pacific or Central Pacific at the time?
I'm thinking it would have been in the east, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. That would have made sense. So, the 3 Cat. Martinez says the 3 Cat 4s were in the EPAC. Yeah, sure, but
Yeah,
technically you could-
Jimena was comfortably in the East Pacific.
that's what I thought. You technically anywhere east of the international date line is the Eastern Pacific, but the Central Pacific is its own basin, controlled by its own agency, the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. So technically, yes, all of the areas to the east of the international date line is the Eastern Pacific, but it's kind of split up into 2. So, yeah, 2 of them were in the Central Pacific and 1 was in the Eastern. The most Steven says the most recent hurricane to make landfall in South Carolina, other than the storm, was Gaston of 2004. That sounds right. Yes.
12 years.
Hey, Colombian says, "Hey guys, can we expect a big thing from the Eastern Pacific? Big thing as in a Patricia? Because I highly doubt that."
And big thing is in now or later? Or next year or when? I'm sure
Yeah.
something big will happen at some point, but the East Pacific is known for its October hurricanes. They can be pretty strong near the coast of Mexico.
Good example, Patricia. Kenna, the 1990-59 Magellan hurricane.
Wasn't Linda in October?
Sparrow C asks, has it made landfall? Yes, it has.
I'm not sure it
It's
was,
debatable.
actually. I think Linda was September and Pauline was in October, I think.
Yeah, I think Pauline was in October. It's debatable whether or not it made landfall in South Carolina, but certainly it made landfall in North Carolina. So I would say yes.
Okay. David, you got something for us?
Okay, the governor, Haley, I think in South Carolina, is to hold a news conference, but Nikki, the governor is saying that a return by residents to evacuated areas, this was, I think, scheduled for Sunday, is not likely to happen. And when it does, it will be done in a regional manner. I'll just go back to an AP site, and Nathan, you can probably see I think this is Matthew's track.
Yep.
So you can see
closely
that.
resembling it.
Yep.
Don't know why.
I'm not sure what these colours represent. So that's just on the AP side.
I see.
Do we have any other questions? I would assume not, but we could. It doesn't look like it's. I think Colombian kind of, further expanded on his statement. Can those disturbances in the East Pacific make a big hurricane this season? Not any of the models really saying anything. I think the GFS said that one of them could become at least 960. So possibly, not saying it won't. It's definitely a possibility, though not nearly as strong as last year's big end of season hurricane. Nowhere near that. So that's one possibility, I guess. 960 would suggest Cat 3 at least, maybe Cat 2 in the Eastern Pacific.
Yeah.
We've had some strong storms this year. Blas and Lester were strong. Madeline and Georgette were also 4s, but they were weaker. So yeah. And it says Stephen's also saying that Matthew is now tied with Francis for the 8th most accumulated cyclone energy by a hurricane in the satellite era. Okay.
Not bad.
That's not bad. Yes. I think I saw Phil Klotzbach tweet that earlier. I follow him pretty closely for stats because I think it's pretty interesting. Columbia and that's why prediction didn't make that much damage. It hit an area where absolutely no one lives, and its area of maximum was tiny, and it weakened at a record pace before it made landfall. Fortunately, so yes, what happened? It was very strong. But what happened to it? Oh, good lord! It was supposedly 215. It was probably closer to 2. My reanalysis said 208. I think Nathan said 207, so we agree with that pretty much. 208. Oh, so we agree on the same thing. So it weakened very quickly due to an eye wall replacement cycle, close proximity to the land, because in Mexico the mountains go up very quickly as you get inland. Just a combination of a bunch of things that went wrong, and it weakened at a record pace. And if it had moved just a little bit farther to the east, then it could have been a much worse storm because it would have been close to Manzanillo. But fortunately, it's in an area where very few people live, and the damage was rather limited to that. So that's something we're very thankful for. Stephen does confirm that that the stats are from Phil Klotzbach. Very smart man. Sparrow asks, what's the damage from Matthew right now? Right now, the damage totals, the cost of the storm is estimated to be $6 billion, both in Haiti and the United States.
Really? Who said that?
Have confirmed where they, I think both Haiti and the United States have confirmed their estimated damage totals. And
I
the
must have
death
been out the
toll,
loop too long.
is almost 900. It's 898 right now. 877 in Haiti, 15 in the United States. I would imagine both of those numbers will rise. Haiti rise probably significantly because they still haven't surveyed. They haven't surveyed nearly the entire country yet. No damage in North Carolina just yet. For South Carolina, or at least there is damage, we know, but we just don't know the damage totals. We cannot consider Matthew as nothing. It is still a hurricane.
Just wait
Barely
a few
holding
more hours, I think, looking at it.
Yeah.
By
right now
morning,
it's-
it'll be gone, I'd say.
right
Nathan?
now-
Gone as a hurricane, that is, but may still deliver some normal
yes. So yeah, it's
problems.
So Sparrow, the damage from Matthew right now is already horrible, and the storm hasn't even been a week old yet.
David.
I'd say easily, this could easily be retired, no question about it in my mind.
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Yeah, David.
Okay, it's been reported that the life loss is 9, the Florida region, and it's been reported in Hurricane Matthew is 138 miles south of Raleigh, moving east-northeast at 13 miles per hour, maximum wind 75, Cat 1.
The Colombian asks, is it still doing the loop-to-loop? It could still do that, but as a post-tropical system, I told him no, but that was I told him no when he asked, can we consider Matthew as nothing? But it's still definitely possible. It's probably going to be much weaker to do that if it wasn't weak enough already. JM21810 weather/gaming/more asks, how is Pinehurst, North Carolina? I have absolutely zero clue to where that is, so I'll look it up on Google Maps real quick.
And while you do that, Hank, I have road closures when we're ready.
Okay. I have it up right now, and Pinehurst is looks to be just to the where is that? A couple, at least 100 or at least 150 miles to the east of Charlotte.
Ooh.
Radar in that area. It's expired. It looks from that one image.
I'm guessing it's getting near the edge of the storm.
Yeah, it looks like it should be beginning to clear up in that area. Pinehurst, specifically, that's Pine Bluff. But yeah, it's in the where's the tab? In this area at least, and should be, and the conditions are clearing or improving. You'll still see rain for the next couple hours, but probably not as heavy as you saw earlier today. Any other questions,
Yes.
David? Not right now, not really any. But Fayetteville should be. Where is Fayetteville again? I completely forgot. That's unfortunate. I know we're gonna have to finishing up the hour soon. There's Fayetteville. Yeah, still raining there, but same thing with Pinehurst. It should be clearing up. David, you said you had road closures, so.
Someone sounds like they've got a bit of a.
Yes, I just the crackle in the microphone. Okay, now the NCDAT I-40 or NC.140. Anyway, Hurricane Matthew impacting North Carolina roadways. Now, this is 30 minutes since it was posted, so I don't know how old this advisory is. Hurricane warning is in effect for North Carolina coastal regions. The storm is currently producing high winds, heavy rainfall to the area. Motorists are advised to stay alert, watch for debris in the roadways, and adhere to special travelling conditions implemented by local authority in their area. I-95 closed in multiple locations due to flooding. I-95 closed both directions at the following locations. The road will remain closed until further notice. And usual response or notification, motorists are advised to seek an alternative route and to follow the instructions of local law enforcement. Exits 25 to 33, US 301 near St. Paul's in Robeson County. Exit 87, Keene Road near the Four Oaks in Johnson County. Exit 100, Pittman Road near Micro in Johnson County. Exit 116, NC 42, 119, US 264, I-795 near Wilson in Wilson's County. I-40 is closed in multiple locations. And exits 355, NC 403, 364, NC 24 Business near Warsaw in Dublin or Dublin County. Exit 319, NC 210 to 325, NC 242 near Benson in Johnson County.
Yeah. Really quickly before we end the hour, the Columbian asks, give your opinion of the top 5 strongest hurricanes ever recorded in any ocean. Atlantic, in order, it's Allen, Rita, Labor Day Hurricane, Gilbert, and Wilma. In the Eastern Pacific, I think it's, I don't really know the 5th, but I think the 5th might be Ava, or, yeah, I think it's Ava.
You're going off the official numbers, though. We want your opinion.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, Ava, Kenna, Rick, Linda, and, of course, Patricia. Western Pacific, it would probably be Mike in 1990, Gay 1992, Hyann 2013, Tip 1979, and what's the other one? Angela of 1990.
That's a strong one. 95.
Yeah, that's a pretty exhausted list of the basins I really track. North Indian Ocean, Gonu, the Paradip Cyclone, the 1991 Bangladesh storm.
We'll be here all day, Hank.
Yeah, I'll finish. This will be my last one. And what's the last one? Maybe Gay of 1989.
89, Category 5.
Cat 5, and one other storm. Yeah, we can finish up. Let's go ahead.
We'll be back in a few minutes. This is Force 13 Live. Another hour to come from our live event this evening with the latest from North Carolina and beyond as we see the final days of Hurricane Matthew. Or is it? More on that in the next hour. Stay tuned. watching Force 13's live streaming service. Welcome back, this is Force 13 Live. It's 6 o'clock on the East Coast and it's the second hour of our 2-hour show this evening. My name's Nathan Foy and picking up the pieces after Matthew with me is the live team right now.
Yeah.
And it's a Force 13 grandfather clock, and welcome to Adam. I was wondering where he disappeared to, and he is the host of the Caribbean Weather Desk, and between Adam, Lee and I, we have recently launched a Caribbean channel. And Nathan, I don't think you'll mind, but to our viewers and those that will be viewing this 2-hour update, please monitor the Caribbean channel, because we will be posting content and possibly doing a live broadcast from the Caribbean region.
Yes, indeed. And, obviously as we get into the latter part of the hurricane season, the Caribbean will likely to be affected more, so more coverage to come. And yes, I do want to apologize for my absence over the past almost 48 hours. Due to current events going on, current operations, I ended up becoming extremely tired and ended up having to take a mandatory leave.
Right? Yeah.
So, Adam, what are you hearing? We did have Chris. He gave a bit of an insight in this. What's happening at the Grand Cayman airport. As I mentioned to our audience, Chris is in the aviation industry, and could you bring us up to speed on what is happening with the deployment of the USS George Washington? You said in an earlier broadcast the Royal Navy is responding, I think, and you can confirm me, the Dutch Navy. So can you give the viewers an update on what is the response to Haiti? And from what I'm seeing here on Twitter, the scene is horrific, and the scene is just too graphic.
Just briefly before that, we're also joined by the rest of the team: Craig, Adam, Hank, Lee, and also our new member Lucy is in the room.
Yes,
Welcome aboard, Lucy.
There are girls on the internet, yes.
Hello.
Good to have you here, Lucy. And Nathan was telling me before we came live, and from those here, welcome.
Thank you.
But Adam, go ahead.
Alrighty. Just before I do, Lucy, welcome. I've been pleading and begging Nathan for us to have females on the team, because we always do need those female intuition for the team.
Hey.
Well, I hope my female intuition works well for you.
I let people come to me. We don't have any agenda against the ladies at all.
That's right.
Yes. Right.
But it's good to have you here.
Yes. So yes, current operations still going on. Joint Task Force Bravo is in full swing with the U.S. Marines and Army in full deployment in Jamaica and Haiti now. Pretty much most of the aircraft have left Grand Cayman. Royal Navy still have their ships in the Caribbean going forth. Can't really deluge on their exact location at the present time, but they are there responding, and I do know that the Dutch and the French Navy is also working with their overseas Caribbean territories for the areas that were affected. So things are going forward. I was able to get some footage from coming out of Haiti, and it is not good. It is quite dire. You know, all this stuff kind of reminds me a little bit like the damage that we had back in 2010 with the massive earthquake that impacted there, and as well as the hurricane season that later ensued and damaged more of Haiti. And this is quite similar in damage. So not looking good. The numbers are still rising in deaths, as well as billions of dollars worth of damage. And it's going to take a long time for Haiti, as well as Jamaica, Cuba, Bahamas, and parts of Florida that would be having a long time to recover from what's happened.
And I believe cholera has set in.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't gotten any word from the medical teams yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that sets in, as well as the new viruses that are coming around, especially mosquito-borne viruses, chikungunya, Zika. Wouldn't surprise me, and also that could be a breakout as well for the Bahamas and even the United States. So that is a major worry for the United States with the health outbreaks that could occur. Obviously, any of the aid organizations going into Haiti, Jamaica, or wherever will need to be checked before entering country and also before leaving country to make sure they're not bringing anything back with them.
Adam, just briefly, and we'll highlight this on the Caribbean channel. Your thoughts on Matthew?
Well, Matthew will be one to be remembered for many years to come. Matthew has broken a few records, and I do think that Matthew will become a retired name, and I'll definitely not be forgetting about Matthew myself personally. This is going to be one of these storms that sticks with me for many, many years.
And I think even if it wasn't for Haiti, well, assuming it would be retired, even if it wasn't for Haiti, it would probably still be retired as well.
Well, with the impacts to the United States, yes, and also the impacts to Jamaica and the Bahamas, I think there's enough. There's enough. To be quite frank, there's enough dead people to go around to warrant its retirement.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Haiti, then the damage totals, as Adam said, in the U.S., Cuba, Jamaica, Bahamas, Colombia, would still probably be enough to warrant retirement.
And I guess it's been one of those weird storms, but it's hit a lot of places, much like that we were sort of maybe bracing for during this year, looking at climatological conditions, maybe.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be a bad storm. I had a feeling at the beginning of the year.
There's always the possibility for it.
Yeah, I had a really bad feeling at the beginning of the year that we were going to see this storm in October, kill thousands of people somewhere in the world, not specifically the Atlantic, somewhere in the world. in an underdeveloped country. And I think Matthew was that storm, which caused probably
let's hope there's
1,000
not
deaths.
another one on the way.
If
That's for sure.
if you could remember the early part of the season, and even just before the start of the season, when I came out with my seasonal forecast this year, I did warn that for the Atlantic that we could have a big one and likely to be bigger than what we've seen since 2007. And I also mentioned that the season will likely, based on my forecast and what I believe, that the season would become much more deadlier in the second half or from the middle to the end rather than the beginning part of the season. And Matthew is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and I also knew that the Florida hurricane drought was going to come to an end, in which that was ended by Hermine, and same thing with the Cat 5 drought, which was ended by Matthew.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few more in Florida before the whole season is all said and done.
A few.
You know? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get at the very least, 2 more for Florida before the season's over.
I think there's a
whether
too, Adam. So.
Yep. Whether or not those storms are tropical storms or hurricanes or even major hurricanes, that's yet to be seen. And I wouldn't speculate further than the possibility of seeing at least 2 storms. So.
Yeah. We'll probably get to Paula by the end of the season. Maybe Richard if we're lucky, but I doubt it. We have had a lot of named storms this year, yes, but also remember that the majority of the storms were short-lived, weak, and some were arguably not tropical storms. Colin and Julia, I'm looking at you two. But we have had our hurricanes. We had,
how many? 4 hurricanes? Not leaving any out, am I?
5.
We've had 6 hurricanes.
Six hurricanes. Yeah.
Alex, Earl,
of course,
Gaston, Matthew, and Nicole. So yeah, 6. We've had our storms. Alex, an anomalous hurricane that formed in January of all months and hit the Azores. Earl caused 67 deaths or something like that in Mexico and made landfall in Belize. Hermine was the first hurricane to make landfall in Florida in 11 years, though I think that's kind of a lousy excuse for the end of the Florida hurricane drought, but whatever. Julia was an interesting storm forming over land, if it was a tropical storm.
I wouldn't say it was lousy. Hermine did look the part near the end.
Hermine looked decent, but for what it did, it was kind of, meh. Of course, we got Matthew. I don't really need to say much more. And, yeah, that's about it. In the Atlantic, at least. Or Bonnie, I could mention Bonnie because, pretty rare to see 2 named storms before the beginning of the season.
Well, let's take a look at the screen now. And David, is that you?
Yes, it is, and that is from the South Carolina. I'm not sure whether it's the emergency management team, but anyway, Highway 174. You look at the top. The top image, Beach. And you can see the aftermath of Matthew.
Wow.
And that's heading to Disto
Beach. I don't know whether Hank would like to show us the latest model spread right now, because 1 or 2 people I think questions about where it will go. Matthew, that is. As its extratropical remnant, if it goes that way, or the remnant low, and then either the turn to the south or somewhere else. What are the models saying right now?
Some taking it south, some taking it east, some taking it northeast.
Is the question?
It will go away from the land.
So what do you do?
Does the storm's direction hinge on what Nicole does?
Jack!
Who's that?
Close the door and let the cat out, please.
Wonderful.
Lovely indeed.
I think it's
Indeed.
Devon.
What was going on with whom over there? Very strange. Anyway, that wasn't Devon.
Jack, stop.
Yeah, Hank,
Oh.
you're still on the air. Well, I'll wait for Hank to realise that and talk about the latest tropical warnings. There are still hurricane warnings for certain locations right now. A hurricane warning is in effect for north... I don't understand what they've written here. I don't know if it's wrong or what, but their word letter by letter means north of south of Sante River to Surf City. A hurricane watch is in effect for north of Surf City to Cape Lookout. A tropical storm warning is in effect for north of Surf City to Duck and Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. The hurricane still has winds of 75 miles per hour and a pressure of 977 millibars. There are also flash flood warnings in effect for huge parts of North Carolina, and there are also flash flood watches and some flood warnings elsewhere in North Carolina and for parts of South Carolina, where there are also some flood advisories, I think, as well, maybe, and some wind warnings existing over parts of South Carolina too. Further north, there are some storm warnings off the coast of the Delmarva Peninsula, the southern tip of it, and off the coast of Virginia. Elsewhere, there's still some flooding concerns significantly in Florida. Obviously, the surge issues in the Carolinas, though I think it's leaving South Carolina now. I'm not seeing any flood warnings along the coast there except near the border with North Carolina. There are some red flag warnings for central and northern parts of Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, eastern Arkansas, and the northeastern tip of Louisiana. Elsewhere in the US, there's a few frost advisories. Those are in large parts of Minnesota, northern parts of Wisconsin, and eastern parts of North Dakota. Also, off Alaska, there's a lot of wind-related warnings for the offshore areas. So, guys, anything that you'd like to say at this point?
I just wanted to know if anybody had seen the GFS run and has noticed that the GFS seems to be modelling that what's left of Nicole by that time and Matthew are going to merge. Has anyone seen that?
Yep, seen that. No surprise. If Matthew gets weak enough and Nicole gets strong enough and they're close enough together, obviously Nicole, if Nicole is stronger and Matthew is weaker and they're close enough, that obviously. Yeah. By the way, since you have mentioned that, have you looked a little bit later down the GFS run? Have you noticed something a little interesting coming down my area?
Where are you?
Grand Cayman, Northwest Caribbean.
Of course, right. I haven't, but I can run through it again.
We'll get on to that at some point. If you've got any questions for us, do send us a message. Start your message with Force 13, and we'll get on to that promptly.
All right, I'll be right back. I need to restart my call.
So, the satellite imagery shows that the storm continuing off towards the northeast, barely holding on to hurricane status, and it will probably lose it very soon.
Nathan, when's the next advisory out?
Well, I noticed that some time ago they stopped doing the hourly position updates. That was earlier today. So they're now doing it every 3 hours, and the next advisory will come not for some time yet. It'll be another
Not
1.5
2
hours.
Yeah, 1.5.
Because
Okay,
just saying, because the storm is no longer posing any major catastrophic effect to the mainland United States, the advisories are no longer hourly.
And just following on from Adam, Nathan, it's just been posted by the National Weather Service, Charleston. Hurricane warnings have now been cancelled from Berkeley County south. Warnings remain for the Grand Strand of Southern Carolina or South Carolina.
I believe we've got Hank back
And also-
now, and he's aware that his microphone was playing up.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought my microphone was muted.
That's okay, Hank.
I might have some background noise, so I'll try to mute myself when it gets too loud.
Sounds
So-
good.
If it becomes a problem, then I might have to leave. But yeah, what have we been discussing these past?
Not much
couple
really.
minutes?
There's no breaking news right now, is there, David?
I have just
Okay,
highlighting
maybe
for Hank, National Weather Service in Charleston, hurricane warnings have been cancelled
Oh, they
from
have.
Berkeley County south. Warnings remain for the Grand Strand of South Carolina. And another posting, and I think this is breaking news, the Arran, ARRAN Lakes Dam in West Fayetteville washing away. Residents downstream from that dam are now being evacuated. So that's
something-
FALETTEVILLE.
Something curious has happened on the National Weather Service. Might have been what you were saying there, David, but the offshore waters beyond Jacksonville have all had their tropical storm-related warnings lifted, but not the land areas. I don't know whether that's a glitch or whether that's actually true. There's a tornado watch that's still in effect for the Outer Banks area, but no tornadoes at this time.
And just picking up on what you said about the offshore, I did cite a couple of hours ago before we came live. One of the Rave boys has been washed onshore.
Onshore.
Yeah, onshore. So that just shows how powerful
That can often happen
Matthew
during
has been.
hurricanes.
Yes.
You just do not mess with water. People don't realize how powerful water can be. I mean, if you think about it, they use water as saws to cut through material. Just to give you an idea on how powerful water can be when force is added to it. So water is a very dangerous thing. You do not want to be messing around with.
And I'll reinforce that Adam's comment. I had 10 years continuous membership in a marine rescue organisation in my location, and I've been out in some very rough weather.
Yes, and also just to give you guys a little bit of my expertise, I'm also part of a search and rescue operation team, as well as military for the Marines, British, by the way, because we are British overseas territory. So, and from my personal experience, whenever there's even moderate seas out, you wouldn't want to be out there, much less rough seas induced by a tropical system.
And Nathan, I'm going to bring in this item. Due to the massive storm surge, please do not go out in the flood waters, because I am signing reports of sharks in that flood water.
Yes, and not only that, but for those swampy areas too, you got to look out for crocs as well as snakes.
Indeed. I'm sort of lost to what to say at this point, but we'll obviously keep you updated upon anything else that's going on. How are the power outages right now? There's still many in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina.
Nathan, I haven't cited any postings, but as soon as I do, I'll bring it to our viewers.
As far as I was aware, and checking a few hours ago, there are still some power outage issues. However, utility crews are out there working and trying to quickly restore power as
David,
quick as possible.
would you be able to show us that image that you posted?
Yes, so the National Weather Service Wakefield afternoon update, flash flood watch extended further north to eastern VA, lower eastern shore. Heavy rain, wind threat increasing afternoon and tonight. And I'll just, I've got it here. Right.
This is
And
interesting.
oh, yes. I'm thinking of the movie with Sharknado. But,
Oh no. Oh gosh.
well, I saw a video and there was a vehicle going through the flood water, and this is the second one that I've sighted. So, for those that are stuck in their homes, do not, especially along the coastline, because this.
Yes. And just saying that even if you do have a shark expert staying with you, let the shark expert handle the situation, not yourself.
And that's Jacksonville Beach. An apology for the language, but that's.
I know, we couldn't show it for too long for that reason.
Yeah, no, it's. Okay.
We got a question. With the updated track, do you think Matthew and Nicole will merge? That's that question again.
I don't think so. I think it's most likely going to. They're probably going to remain separate. Some of the models do say they could join. I think Deja BRF said that. As it moved Nicole actually over Bermuda. So that's an interesting solution.
The GFS has them merging as well later in its run.
Yeah, I think GFS does. Let me check real quick.
The Euro sort of does.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the Euro. No, it doesn't. The Euro. What it says that Nicole will steal some of the. Or is it? No, it's not.
There's a
No,
couple of the models now saying that it will merge later on, but I think by that time Nicole doesn't look very strong just before they merge.
It'll be a bit stronger than it is now.
There's another picture.
But it should. It will probably from Matthew for sure.
So there's a tree on top of a house. Not sure where that is, but I'm guessing.
Burlington.
I'm guessing somewhere in the Carolinas.
Whoops, I don't know what that was.
So
North Carolina.
North Carolina. So there's another shot, and there we go. The storm continuing along the coast and weakening. How much longer do you think it has before extratropical or remnant low becomes official?
Couple of days, I'd say. At most.
The National Hurricane Center is saying no more than 1 day,
I would say middle part of next week.
And this one's for Adam. The screen share.
Alrighty. Yep. That would be your bog standard offshore patrol vessel.
And what is it doing? Sorry.
It is docking on a dock.
Yes, clearly, but what is its task?
But what location do you reckon? Any idea?
Columbia.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that looks like a Colombian naval vessel. They're probably, they're also probably heading over to Haiti, if anything. Wouldn't surprise me.
Lucy, I think we cut you off just then. Did you have something for us?
Yeah, it was just the South Carolina Emergency Management Division just sent out a tweet saying that 233,000 homes in South Carolina currently are without electricity. along mainly coastal areas, and that conditions are not going to improve, so they won't be able to do anything about it yet, basically, until it's safe for crews to go out.
I would say that sounds just about right. Honestly, if I was to compare, and I could easily compare, because with Cayman being considered one of the hurricane capitals in the Atlantic, we get hit through many storms, and if I was to compare, I would say the damage in Haiti is much like the damage Grand Cayman had during Hurricane Ivan, and the damage in parts of Florida and so on is I'd say similar damage to what we had in Charley and as well as Paloma.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know about the Cayman Islands being the most active area of the Atlantic. I'd say probably the area that gets the most landfalls. I don't know the exact statistic, but I would say it's Florida or the
statistic.
Like that. I wouldn't say it's the Cayman Islands, though.
Well, I would say the Cayman Islands get battered quite often from hurricanes that move through there.
No, yeah, they get battered a lot, but
I would say they get hit more than Florida. Actually, never know.
I don't think so. I think it's probably Florida.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, we'll leave that for another time.
There's one thing I just want to mention quickly.
Seems that I got kicked accidentally.
No, you're right.
There's one thing I just want to mention quickly. The governor of Jacksonville, when he made his statement earlier, talked about the amount of calls they'd had to the emergency services with people with carbon monoxide poisoning because they've been using generators inside their properties. I know that there were also quite a few cases, although it hasn't really been on Twitter or mainstream media, in Florida as well, and a couple reported in South Carolina. So I just want to remind people, if they are using generators and the power does go out, please don't use them inside. Please just put them somewhere else. Carbon monoxide, you can't smell it, you can't see it. It's very, very dangerous. Obviously, people aren't able to come out and help you. I think we're very lucky that we haven't had any fatalities that we know of from carbon monoxide poisoning yet. But just to remind people to be very careful if they do have a generator and are using that during the storm. It needs to be outside somewhere, really, if you can.
Yes.
And there was a couple of fires where people had tried to rig generators up to their house electricity. Also not a good idea.
Yes, if you're going to set up a generator to your house, please get a certified electrician to do so. And yes, as Lucy said, keep your generator outside in the open air, and also if it's a gas-powered or fuel-powered generator, keep the fuel tanks as far away from the generator as possible until you're needing it. And if you do need it, make sure that the generator is off before you start to refill the tanks.
We're now joined by Strath.
Yeah, what's up? How's it going, guys?
Good evening. And Matthew, what do you think?
Its latest developments have not been very good, especially landfall. It's probably arguably the worst thing that could have happened.
For the storm and for everyone else, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess maybe, skirting the coast would have been the worst thing on Florida, but that's the point.
The best thing would be that the storm sticks out in the middle of the Southwest Atlantic with no impacts at all.
But here's a question.
Well,
if the storm had not paralleled the coast of Florida and instead went straight for the Carolinas in a straight line virtually, would it have been stronger by the time it arrived?
Probably. It would remind me a lot of Hazel, actually.
Possibly, but there was still it still would have encountered wind shear.
No, not
kind
really.
of.
Nah, not really.
Upper level ridge, I would say no because of that.
Because you could argue that if it didn't have as much land interaction, that the upper level high, that develops with the storm, wouldn't have faded.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Matthew ended up re-intensifying back to a 5 before landfall. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, specifically for, the Carolina area, you could say that's fortunate, but overall, it's definitely not good regardless.
Yes, and just to also mention, in all the areas that Matthew has affected, and I'm pretty sure that most people are aware that the most affected area is Haiti, and mainly due to the poor infrastructure Haiti has, that really caused most of the damage.
Definitely the case, especially because, not only is infrastructure and, their buildings poor, but any people that are left out there on the area that the hurricane made landfall can't really get help because the main bridge connecting that peninsula to the capital completely collapsed during the storm.
I'm just going to leave the room for a brief minute or two. You guys can continue.
Yeah, sure.
Aid agencies from Haiti did report earlier that they have got access to south of the island. There are still 2 areas that they've not been able to get access to, but they report 90% devastation, basically.
Yep.
The last I heard.
Looking on the video footage from the reconnaissance aircraft, not the weather reconnaissance, but the marine reconnaissance aircraft flying into Haiti, I would definitely agree to that. Yes, 90%, and even for those areas that aren't available to get to certain areas, obviously the marine helicopter units will be out there launching their birds into these areas that are unavailable to reach those pickup points for aid.
Yeah, at this point, we can really just, hope that help gets to everyone that needs it as soon as possible before it's really too late. At least for everyone else that's still being affected, the good thing is that the storm should start to move offshore, and by Monday it should be gone. But I know that as the storm gets sheared, that convection is going to be ripped off to the north following that trough, and probably the whole East Coast could get drenched, but nothing as bad as what's been going on in the Carolinas South.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We're now joined by Isaac.
Hey, I'm here.
Good evening.
Nice.
Hello.
Matthew still has a hurricane somehow, apparently.
Yeah, somehow.
It's up to closer to like 990 now, if I'm not mistaken.
977 the last time I had it.
Yeah. I'm looking at the recon, though.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the recon. Yeah. They measured, at least the 2 most recent eye passes were around like 988 or 987.
So trying to hold on to hurricane intensity, but not much.
By the way, by any chance, has any of you guys ever been in a C-130 in bad weather before?
Not likely.
No. Well, I can tell you from experience, it is one hell of a ride.
I imagine it's a bit like a roller coaster, to be honest, with huge bumps in the middle of it.
Yeah, kinda.
It's like one of those roller coasters that like your friend convinces you to go on, even though you don't want to, and it's so bumpy that you end up hitting your heads like around every turn.
Well, luckily with C-130s, their headroom is quite spacious, so it's not too terribly bad. But I could tell you that it's definitely not a fun trip, because unlike regular commercial aircraft where the inside is completely pressurized and have quite comfortable seating, on these aircrafts it's quite a different situation. So not only are you bumping around like you're in a roller coaster, but in very uncomfortable seats, and I'd say I'd give you about maybe half an hour to an hour in the flight, and you're already sick of being on the flight.
So going back to Matthew, it looks like, maybe barely trying to hold on to hurricane intensity. Well, probably tropical storm intensity by now.
I assume the tropical storm wind field is going to be pretty large.
It actually kind of is, though. Like, like fortunately for the past day though, the stronger winds have actually shifted, and the wider radius has shifted to the western quadrants, which is further away from land.
I've got some
than the
breaking
eastern
news
side.
actually. There's some new flash flood warnings that have gone into effect now, extending to cover the Outer Banks. Pretty much all those areas and the inlets all under flash flood warnings now, extended eastwards again.
Interesting.
And there's so many areas under flash flood warning right now. It's most of the state except for the westernmost counties.
Can I just read an amber alert out for Florida? Would anybody mind? I know it's not weather related, but
Okay, what is it?
Amber alert's a missing child.
Ah, yes.
Yes, I cited that one earlier. Go
Have
ahead.
you read that one out already?
No, but I am
Go ahead,
aware of
read it out.
it's
Amber alert has been issued for 4-year-old Lakeland girl. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The alert for Rebecca Lewis, who was last seen on Highway 98 north of Lakeland. She's wearing a blue pair of shorts. Rebecca has blonde hair, blue eyes, and weighs about 30 pounds. Officials say Rebecca might be with a 31-year-old Lakeland man called West Hoggs, who has a scar shape with the letter L on the right side of his head. Hoggs, who has red hair and green eyes and tattoos with a blue Chinese symbol. He's 5'8" and 220 pounds. They haven't specified anybody else, but obviously just wanted to read that out because
Hopefully they find him.
just in case anybody sees. That's 4-year-old girl wearing blue shorts in the Florida Lakeland area, last seen. Her name's Rebecca. She's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and weighs roughly about 30 pounds.
All right, thank you. There's some scenes from Lumberton, North Carolina. Looks like, what do you say, half a foot of flooding there.
yes,
At least.
1 of 4.
That looks like
Cool.
more.
How far inland is this?
That was an area that was under big concern about flooding. Actually, I remember they were expecting major flooding in this area a few days ago. It is somewhat inland, as far as I'm aware.
That's
Yeah,
the area
Certainly not on
that
the
said
coast.
that they said
Yeah, it
it
is.
was catastrophic flooding
That's
occurring earlier. I posted the tweet in the chat room, I think. Is that the same
It's
area?
probably about 50 miles north of Myrtle Beach. I'm not sure if you guys went over it, but there is actually tornado watches
Yes.
on the Outer Banks right now.
There are indeed,
Yes.
and those flash flood warnings were extended to cover those too in the last few minutes. And apart from that, there is nothing else to bring to you, but I think that's enough for the time being. And I'm curious.
Have you
as to
talked
what
about the rest of that?
I'm curious as to what they've done with the hurricane warnings and the tropical storm warnings right now, because I'm quite confused. But
There's a flash flood warning. I didn't notice this before. 15 minutes ago,
mhm.
Newport Moorhead moved to higher ground immediately.
I
Yeah,
think that
and-
may already been in effect, but if not, now you know.
Kill Devil Hills, it's called, North Carolina, until 12:30 a.m.
Yeah, there's flooding all over North Carolina.
That's
Or
the
the
same
Apple
people
Farm,
who
yeah.
were reporting catastrophic flooding occurring 40 minutes earlier. So, you just,
Well, if there's not much else to talk about, have we looked at the other topics, like see what's going on around, other than Atlantic?
We've had a little look, but I don't know if anyone wants
Yeah.
to do more of that right now.
I
I don't
mean,
have screen share.
I guess from what I saw, Nicole's slightly not as dead as earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got an update, and
Okay.
it's not good news. Hurricane Matthew's death toll continues to increase, leaving aside the worsening seen over in Haiti, that country's death toll. Florida has 5 deaths, Georgia 3, North Carolina 3.
So what's the current death toll in Haiti?
I think, wasn't it mentioned over 1,000?
Over 1,000.
And
I was
also
hoping that wouldn't
breaking
come.
news, curfew issued for Sumter County from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. Sunday. I don't know what state that'll be. So just recapping, Florida sees 5, Georgia 3, North Carolina 3 deaths.
Yep.
Yeah, Nicole might be a little small threat to Bermuda, possibly.
Maybe
if
a
it's
bigger than a
current-
small threat right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Not
Yeah.
model.
right now,
of
but in the
the-
next 5 days.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
That's-
GFS 18Z. I'll try to see if a miracle occurs right now and the screen share works.
I have more info.
It's there.
Yeah.
I'll
Go ahead,
bring
David.
up the screen share.
Oh.
Sorry, it's starting to. Where are we? I'll just store the screen share for a minute. Okay, Rhodes Lake has fallen in northern Carolina, and looks like Route 301 is flooded. I mentioned that, but water may eventually flood the I-95.
I think it's quite a distance to go too, so it's very interesting. Let's see. I'll pull screen share again just to show.
You gotta hope for 2 miracles in a row now for this to work.
Yeah.
It's there.
Is it?
It's
Okay,
there.
good. This is the 18Z GFS, so this is initialized at 2 p.m. It's actually pretty interesting because I'll just, it just kind of just skipped. Right here, you can see there's Matthew.
Yeah.
It actually develops another low pressure area and keeps Matthew down here and eventually actually curls it back and has it absorbed by Nicole, with the other half going into Greenland.
Absorbed into Nicole.
Eventually,
Yeah.
when Nicole's going extra tropical and stuff, it seems I'll just let it
No
roll out one more
surprise.
time. It kind of develops
this
an
is-
extra one here, one there. This one curls into Greenland, and the other half gets just sucked in by Nicole because Nicole would be much stronger at that point.
How far is that away from now?
By the time Matthew gets absorbed, that's only a little more than 5 days out. It's in between 132 and 138 hours.
Okay.
The Greenland thing's just 4 days out though. So
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's one model.
yeah, and I'll just show the model spread again. It's starting to seem like there's a bit more. It's starting to get a bit more organized. There isn't like a more rapid turn, but there's still a debate now. It seems with the models about whether or not the track is gonna go east and out to sea, or go east and then southward before curling back out.
Or in any direction there.
Yeah. At least right now we don't have all the models coming or splitting off and having them go off the screen over here and down into these words over
But
here.
still horribly confused.
Yeah.
All over the place.
2.9 earthquake in California.
Yeah, it's just come up on Twitter. I was like, ooh.
Oh no. San Andreas is gonna happen, guys.
No,
Here we
don't
go.
say
And then the Yellowstone
Don't say
volcano's gonna erupt and the whole
say
world's going
that.
down the
Well,
drain.
that's two
David
minor
Dalbin.
earthquakes they've had along that
Strap will
along
take
that
you on the
fault
air if you
in the
carry
last
on. Off the
in the last 50 hours.
Can't even talk. Sorry.
So
Yeah,
there's quite a
actually.
lot. There's quite a few, but once it starts to move, there's always minor quakes all the way
Yeah.
along the fault line. So
You mean?
it's quite normal. No need to panic.
I mean, after
Yeah, the good thing about these small quakes is that it helps to prevent much bigger quakes from
Alleviate the
occurring.
stress. Yeah.
Yes, and that is the current worry that I'm currently having presently here in Grand Cayman, because we haven't had a single earthquake since last year, and on average we would get about maybe I'd say about 7 earthquakes a week, even though most of those were minor. So the fact that we haven't had any worries the living daylights out of me for down here.
I did notice that there was a 5.7 magnitude earthquake just a couple hundred miles east of Barbados earlier on this afternoon.
Yep. Sadly,
well, so-
sadly that one has absolutely no effect because
I
it's on a
know, I
completely
know,
different
I
fault
know,
line.
but I'm just saying it was quite close to the Caribbean, so just letting you know anyway.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We've already done 1 hour 50 minutes of the show and we're near the end. So, guys, if there's anything
Nice.
more that you'd like to bring up in this small window that we have, make sure you get it in here now.
Right. Well, I will mention that currently there is a little over 9,000 National Guard troops that have been deployed to areas of South Carolina and North Carolina, as well as Florida, and also a little bit more news on the aircraft carrying hospital ship. They should be on station in Haiti, I would think, in maybe 24 hours or so from now. So medical assistance for Haiti is on the way.
And we'll be providing updates on the Caribbean channel for those that want to tune in. But the main priority is this channel. But we recently activated the Caribbean channel.
I guess in my closing statement, I guess, Northeast and the whole Eastern Seaboard isn't really out until that rain starts to get kicked offshore. So there definitely is still an impact going to be still felt in North Carolina, still 6+ inches in some areas. And
Craig,
then
are
also,
you able to speak to us right now? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, don't worry.
Because he's telling me in private some news about his observations of Tropical Storm Songda in the West Pacific.
Yes.
Just that it's looking good, effectively. I'm not sure if he's able to talk to us at this hour. But, of course, Tropical Storm Songda is a feature in the Western Pacific, and that is over waters at the moment. And Tropical Storm Air, which I believe has weakened south of China.
Yeah, it looks a bit like a weekend from earlier in the day, possibly. I would have to look at some of the archive imagery to be able to tell. But it looks like it's weakened a little bit, possibly due to some sear.
Yeah.
Just one thing I'd like to quickly mention, another thing that's coming up on Twitter a lot from a lot of the law enforcement agencies on the East Coast is beware of door-to-door solicitation for help with, getting rid of trees off your houses. Apparently there's been a lot of scammers driving down to the East Coast to take advantage of people who've been hit by the hurricane as they're going back into their properties to assess the damage. So just beware. There are free services run by your local counties that they will come and help you. I mean, it might not be straight away. If you do have a tree on the roof of your house, please find out if there's any free help available first. And also, I think there's a couple of counties have got some websites where you can go and they give you lists of people locally who can help you.
And you
Wow.
Jeez. I can't remember who was talking about the looting that was going on at some point as well.
Oh yes, there was a woman who left webcams in her house in Florida, and it caught another lady going through her house during Hurricane Matthew, which is all over Twitter. I can't find it.
You can't believe some people, can you?
Yeah.
But I don't think we know because she hasn't been back to her house yet. I mean, I like to believe the best in people. It might just be someone who didn't have any shelter, who was just trying to find somewhere to get in. Maybe, I don't know.
Just got your screen shared up.
Or was it? Were they caught in the act actually stealing?
No, it's just the footage. It's just the video footage online at the moment. The person actually hasn't been back to their property. So
Craig's showing us some microwave imagery of Songda, I believe. And what's this telling us, guys?
Possibly trying to make an eye. No, it's too late. Kind of a little early to say that.
It's got a good band about it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely. I can see it right there.
Looks nice like a comma.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Anyway,
that's well.
we're just about to finish up here. Thanks for watching, and it's another one of our Matthew updates, and maybe it's going to be one of our last. It may not be our last. There might be more to come yet, but we'll keep you up to date on anything that happens. And not only Matthew, but all of our live events. No matter what storm we cover storms all around the world. Whenever there's another big storm heading for anywhere, we are on this live webpage on YouTube, and every so often we'll be doing, you know, if there's a big event going on, we do 24/7 broadcasting, which is what we did for 4 days this week during Matthew, to keep everyone informed as best we can. And let's finish on the image that David is showing us right now. Please explain.
Spring made pier getting ripped apart, Myrtle Beach.
I just want to point out as well, I mentioned this to David earlier, you know, the ridiculous amount of sensationalism going on a lot of media outlets too.
Yeah.
And that's been the case all the way from the start. And you know, one of the saddest things about it is that people making such a fuss about the US and hardly anything to do with Haiti, which has had miles worse problems from the storm than the East Coast will get, even though it is also bad there.
Yeah, and not only that, they're not even covering the storm at all anymore because of, you know, the tape.
Gee.
The tape.
I think
Yeah.
his leaked tape apparently, that's all they're covering right now. They're not even focusing on, you know, damage and stuff as much as, like, you know, politics and whatnot, which is kind of sad. But
I wondered
Yeah,
where
I think
everyone
a
had
couple
gone.
of local news channels in South Carolina got in trouble because they didn't broadcast the local emergency governor's
Really.
hurricane message. They instead decided
Yes.
to broadcast something about the
It's
elections.
just pathetic. It's outrageous.
yeah, because tape got leaked last night of him, like, admitting, like, he tried to sexually assault a woman.
Right, I don't want to talk about that during the show, but you know, they could talk about that any other time rather than you know, another time apart from that emergency message. It's just ridiculous.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
also,
we're
I'd
here
like to
for
just
anyone who wants us.
Yeah, I was just gonna briefly mention that very recently, there's actually within like the past hour, there's been 2 over 3.0 earthquakes out in Alaska. One was a 3.3 and the other was a 3.6 that were just updated onto the maps.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back some other time. Not sure when at this point, but stay tuned. We'll let you know on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Search Force 13 ahead of a live event when we're going to be live. And you can also add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13. Thanks everyone in the room, thanks everyone watching, and we'll be back again soon. Good night.
Nice.